So welcome, dear colleagues. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our series of short and informative webinars on geospatial technologies for land recordation. My name is Oliver Mundy. I'm moderating this series. Today is our sixth webinar. We have invited our colleagues from the Indonesian Community Mapping Network, or in short, JKPP. They have done very interesting work and have mapped over 1.7 million hectares. So that's quite impressive. So we are sure that you're going to enjoy this webinar. Before we start, we have an important announcement to make. We will launch the second edition of our training program, Geotech for Tenure, on the 8th of November. This is a free and interactive course on land tenure and geomatics by FAO and IFAD. It will take 6 weeks. We demand about 4 to 5 hours of your time per week. It will be in English, and most importantly, if you wish to, please apply by the 15th of October if you wish to join the course. We only have a limited amount of seats in this course. We already have quite a number of applications, so we won't be able to cover all of the demand, but please register anyway, because we're planning future offerings of this course also in other languages. So once you register, you'll be informed about those as well. This webinar series accompanies the Geotech for Tenure training program. These webinars are short and informative. Today is the sixth one. We are showcasing technological solutions for land recordation. Be aware, everything is recorded and live streamed on YouTube, and all materials will be shared afterwards. I am very happy to introduce you to our speakers, Dewi Sutejo and Mohammed Abdulaziz. Both of them work for the Indonesian Community Mapping Network, or in short, JKPP. Dewi is the deputy, and Mohammed Abdulaziz is the administrator of the land portal. I'm going to hand straight over to you. First, Dewi was going to give a presentation on their work, and then we will see a demonstration of the land tool. So we're very happy that you're here, and over to you, Dewi.
Yeah, thanks, Oliver, for having IGs and I in IFAD webinar series. Good afternoon, good morning for all. I hope you are well and healthy. Yeah, so IGs and I will share a little bit more about what we have done with the participatory mapping in Indonesia and one of the land portal we call tanahkita.id. Next, please, Oliver. Yes, before I would like to introduce my organization, Jaringan Kerja Pemetaan Partisipatif, or we call JKPP, Indonesia Community Mapping Network, was founded in 1996 with the goals to assert people control over the space, or we call the kedaulatan atas ruang. We have like a member, around 178 member. It consists of the CSO, academic, individual, and local organization. We work with we call SLPP. It's mean Participatory Mapping Service Center yang scattered in 25 provinces. It's like a hub. And until 2021, actually the area that have been mapped actually is around 17.2 million hectare, and then it consists of the village map, land use planning, and the management area such as social forestry, agrarian reform, and then the customary forest. So we work closely with our hub. So why the amount of the community mapping area is huge, 17 million hectare. Next. Yeah, I would like to share about how we work also with the government for the collaboration, because all the data is updated to the we deliver to government for the recognized. First, with the Forest and Environment Ministry, we call KLHK. So JKPP also a part of the preparation and revision for indicative map of social forestry. And then for the ATR BPN is Spatial Ministry, before is Land National Agency. We also have like a pilot project to use the Participatory Land Administrative Registry, or we call PALAR. And for the Home Affairs Ministry, we work closely for the Information Geospatial Agency. We work closely for preparation the participatory adat mapping module, and then for the last they recognize our methodology as one of contributor for the geospatial information. That's a good news for us. And then we also working closely with the local government, because somehow there are lack of the capacity to implement the participatory mapping for the village boundary setting, for the social forestry and agrarian reform proposal. And then the last, it's about the tanahkita.id. Our portal is on discussion for the opportunity on relaunching and integrate to the task force of agrarian reform with the ATR Land National Agency. Next, Oliver. Yeah, this is just, I would like to brief show about what the mapping process. We first, the important step in the first actually for the participatory mapping is focus gap discussion with the community. We talk why we do the community mapping with the communities, what the reason, what for, and the last thing that we make agreement with them who will be joined for the team for social and the spatial. So this is the step, the important step, because we make agreement. Because if we just come to the village or the community when they want to make the participatory mapping, and then the second we do the training, because they will use the GPS and make a sketch. They do by themselves. We just assist, and then for survey, transect, delineation, and then drawing until the finalization. And the last, there is a letter of agreement, especially for boundary within all the neighbor. Next. Yes, this is about the tanahkita.id portal. Yeah, actually the tanahkita.id portal developed in 2016. Yeah, this is as a response actually, because our government through the Pak Jokowi President, actually they promised to give or redistribution the land to the community through two big scheme. First is social forestry, 12.7 hectare with the target, and then the second is for the agrarian reform, 9 hectare. But we know that our government lack on the data of the community management area. So why we think with the coalition, because the Tanah Kita is coalition, JKP with other network in the national network. So the Tanah Kita portal is built and developed to support the advocacy related the agrarian resolution conflict, and then encourage the expansion and recognize the IPs and local community through various policy scheme that exists in Indonesia. Because in tanahkita.id there is two main themes. First is conflict distribution map, and the second is community management area, like indigenous people territory, agrarian reform, social forestry, include customary forest, then ICCA it's in IPs and local community conserve area. So the data collection are from the networks, local and national. So actually tanahkita.id is used for like monitoring tools. So we can see the achievement of the promises of our government, how large the area that have been given to the community. So we can encourage continuously the implement of that policy by the tanahkita.id. Next, Oliver. Yeah, this is just I would like to share about the flow of tanahkita.id. So we got the data from our contributors, it could be offline mechanism and online, because somehow in the contributor in the field have a struggle with the internet, so they just fill out the form and send by email to the administrator in JKPP, and the others network or contributor could fill out directly into the portal. Automatic they have an account, so we check if the data complete or not complete, we can give back to them, and then they will complete. So, and then if there's people want to ask the data, they can also send the email, contact us, and the main administrator in JKPP will ask permission from the research person who have the data, because in Tanah Kita we have many kind of contributor. This is the protocol. Next, Oliver. Yeah, this is because every year we also publish the analysis from the tanahkita.id data. So this is the example of the analysis of the conflict until August this year. Tanahkita.id record like 481 case of conflict covering total for 0.8 million hectares. So three sector that the large contributor for the conflict based on the Tanah Kita is plantation with 246 case, and then the forest and the mining. So if you see the map, there is a three status not resolved yet, on process and resolved. That's what you can see in the platform, the status. Next. Yeah, this is the example what we have published with the Tanah Kita analysis. That we publish the fact sheet for example, infographics, and then the working paper. Thank you. I will give back the floor to you, Oliver.
Thank you, Dewi. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Abdul Aziz, or you can call me Aziz. Currently work at Indonesia Community Mapping Network as database and information staff, and also as admin of the tanahkita.id portal. On this portal, there are 7 pages. The first is the home page. The second is the map view page. The third is news. The fourth is about the history of tanahkita.id. The fifth is the library containing several states regulation, and beside that, there is some publication like working paper, fact sheets, or infographics that made and analyzed by tanahkita.id coalition. And sixth is reporting, explaining how to report if there is conflict in some area. And the last is contact, being a place to report event that occur in some area. But this time, we will focus in the first 2 pages. Okay, so on this page, you will see the total data that has been input into the portal. And there are 2 main data shown here. The first is the community management area, or in Indonesia, we call it wilayah kelola. And the second is the conflict data. In community management areas data, there are 3 types of management area status. First is potential, second is proposal, and the last is realization. Each stage is divided into 3 types of scheme. The first is the object of land for agrarian reform, or in Indonesia we call TORA. The second is social forestry, or in Indonesia we call it perhutanan sosial. And the last is customary forest, or in Indonesia we call it hutan adat. Total data that already input to this portal is 3,405 data on community management area with total area of 11.21 million hectares, and 481 data on the conflict data. Actually, there are many filters in this page. First is your filter. This filter will display data in each year or display all data that has entered up to a certain year. Next filter is in the stage status. When you click the potential stage, it will shows only the potential data. It will do the same if you click in proposal and realization. Next filter is the type of scheme button. If you click TORA, it will shows only the TORA data, and it happens as well if you click the other button. Below it, when you click one of the province, for example, is Central Java Province, it will shows list of data that locate in this province. On this list, you can see the name of management area itself, its profile, type, and stages of status, whether it is still potential, proposed, or already realization. And if you click the detail button, it will brings you to the detail of data. This page contains the name of the management area. This one is Pakis Aji, and its type is land for agrarian reform, and the status is already realized by government, and the area is 76.6 hectare. Below it is a description of the decree, if there are any of them. The source of the data, and also the profile of the person who inputting the data to this portal. Okay, back to the homepage. It will do the same if you click at the other province. Below it is a list of the most management areas by province and the type of scheme. Most of the data are in West Kalimantan, and in the type of scheme is social forestry. Next, in the right corner, you will see the latest data that input to this portal. And if you click the name of data, it also brings you to the detail of data. Back to homepage, and in the bottom left corner is chart of community management area data that input in 1 year and separated by month. And in the middle is the percentage of stages from all community management area data. So let's move on to the conflict data. In the conflict data, it can be seen the amount of conflict data that has been entered into the portal, then the number of casualties, and the area affected by the conflict. Similar with the previous, if we click one of the province, will be taken to a list of conflicts in that province. This list shows the title of each conflict, a summary of chronology, and the sector of the conflict, like oil palm plantation sector, mining sector, forest wood production sector, and others. If we click the detail button, the detail of the conflict data will appear. On this page contains the location of the dispute, the area, the time of the incident. Like this, this is happened in 2000. The sector, this is the forest production sector conflict, and the resolution process is still in a process of mediation. And the area and number of victims that are affected by this conflict. And there are also actors who play a role in the occurrence of the conflict, from the government side, company side, and the community side. Underneath, there is a narrative of the conflict. This is content the background of the dispute area, such as it is history, geographical condition before and after the arrival of the company, and who was involved in this conflict, and what efforts have been made to resolve these problems. And then the source of the conflict data itself. Back to the conflict data page. In this section, we also see what province that have most conflict or dispute area. And this list is Central Kalimantan with 125 conflicts. And which sector has the most problem? And in this case is perkebunan or big plantation sector. Sorry. Below it is a graphic of conflict data in each year that is entered into the portal, and there is also a percentage of conflict status. The largest percentage is conflict status that has not been handled, and there are around 49%. Okay, basically the filter on this page works the similar as the community management area data page. So let's move on to the second page, the map view page. On this page, you will see all of the spatial data such as polygon or point. This page also have some button to show each layer of data. The first layer is the community management area, which is spread based on the stage and its types. And the second layer is the indigenous people territory layers. This layer is connected to the ancestral domain registration agency's portal, and this agency is JKPP partners too. Basically, the tanahkita.id portal is connected to other portals. First is the previous one, and the second is the portal from the Indigenous and Local Community Conserve Areas portal or ICCA portal. And next is participatory mapping layers. This layer shows the JKPP participatory map and is used as the base layer. Why do we use it as a base layer? Because we also want to know whether the participatory map data from JKPP is used by the government or not as a reference in making communities management areas such as agrarian reform or social forestry. And last is the layers of governance data such as forest area, company area, fiscal plantation, mining, and forest wood production. On this page, we can do simple spatial analysis. For example, we want to know the overlap between mining companies and protected forest area, or we want to know what management areas are still in the production forest area. We just have to choose the layer according to what we want to analyze. And yeah, maybe that's all for me. I hope you have a nice day, and thank you.
Thank you, Dewi. Thank you, Aziz, for this interesting presentation and demonstration. You can now switch your cameras on. Also, Vladimir, can you switch your cameras on? We've got some time for questions. We decided to go a bit over time. Apologies for that. So we're going to go like 5 minutes over time, so give more space for questions. You have the Q&A button in the Zoom panel where you can address questions. So please, I've already seen that some people posted their questions. Please continue posting them there and we will try to answer them. Vladimir, over to you.
Thank you, Oliver. I have a very quick question related with the participatory mapping process in a village. The question is, how long does the process take from start to the settlement with neighbors? And also, how do you select the community members who will capture the data in the field? And also, there is a question in the question section: are the community members paid for the work they do in the participatory mapping? Over.
Yeah, thank you, Vladimir. Yeah, of course, they're not paid by us because it's a participatory mapping, because somehow we get the request from the community first to respond to conflict, because somehow they just overlap with the oil palm concession, or their area or forest claimed by the state forest. So they just come to us and asking for help for the map itself. So in the part and then in the beginning of focus group discussion that I mentioned before in the process. So why we talk in the first, because we don't know, we don't want to just asking them to do mapping. It's based on their request. So why we were also with the SLPP, the participatory service centers. So it's more easier for community to just come to our SLPP for the request. Oh yeah, and then for your information, for some like a village boundary setting, actually it's because now in the policy in Indonesia policy, so they just can access the village fund. So the village is just prepared for the implementation of the participatory mapping.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dewi. Aziz, I've got a question for you. How often and who updates the data? How does a community member access the data?
Okay, thank you, Oliver. So how often that data is updated? Actually, we try to update regularly, but one of the biggest challenge for us is the new data itself, because it depends to the availability of data from the contributor. So yeah, but we try that every 3 or 4 months to update this data, and also who update this data, the person who update this data is the administrator, me, and other admin in regional administrator. And then how the community member access? Community member can access the portal through the regional admin, or if they are not our member, they can ask to the admin about more information of this data. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Aziz. Quick follow-up question. What is the software used to build the platform?
Oliver, I can hear your voice.
Can you hear me?
Okay, Oliver. I will answer the next question. So we hire a third-party web developer, and they use PHP code igniter to build the system of portal tanahkita.id.
Okay.
Yeah.
One question from the audience is how important is the GNSS accuracy for the capturing of the boundaries? Over.
So I will answer the question. So about the accuracy, right? In our method, we just use handheld GPS like Garmin or etc. So basically there are no problem with the accuracy of the tools, but we have some accuracy that call it social accuracy, because this accuracy is accepted by one village and the other village agreement. So that's all.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Oliver, maybe
Go
I
ahead.
can answer some question about what the customary forest it's mean. There's from Alex, or yeah, actually the customary forest is we call hutan adat. Before it's actually the state forest, so it released by the government to give back to the IPs, indigenous people. So it's owned by the IPs now. After this is formal recognition under the KLH, Forest and Environment Ministry.
Thank you, Dewi. There is a question from Christopher Tanner. Could the speakers please say more about the legal framework for community mapping? Second, is the conflict list up to 21st of August from when? So when did you start collecting data? Those are the two questions.
Yeah, that's the very important question. What the legally for our community mapping? So in Indonesia, our government is recognize the method. For example, the second my second slide about the collaboration, the BIG Geospatial Information Agency actually recognize the participatory mapping method as one of contributor for geospatial information based on the thematic. Actually, it issued by last week, but before some, that's a good news actually. Some so in our government, they just recognize it's like partial, still partial. We know we still struggle on that, but we know that some policy who be the opportunity for us, because JKPP also work to ensuring the integration all the data from the community mapping into the one map policy. Yes.
Yeah. So my next question is coming from Paradza. What is the legal status of the maps? Do the maps have a legal status?
Yeah, actually, the government still said this is the indicative map. So why the government have to verify actually? But for some case, yeah, if we talk about the social forestry, we propose the map for social forestry. It's quite easier than if we talk about agrarian reform. So I mean, it's a very political aspect about the status of the map itself, but the government said this is still indicative map.
Thank you, Dewi.
Thank you.
There is a question from a colleague in Congo, and he's been wondering, because Indonesia is an island nation, how do you manage it with all the islands to do this mapping work? Is it complicated?
Yeah. Actually, it's still complicated because we know somehow in the island, in the coastal area, it's like open access than in the land. And we know that from the 17 million hectare that have been carried out by JKPP members and network is only few for the coastal area. Map. This one's of our challenge and homework actually in the next year ahead.
Okay, the next one is coming from Alex Muhumunza, and the question is, how do you ensure that the conflicts get resolved once they are published on the platform?
Yeah, that's the very interesting question, because we in tanahkita.id we update the status itself, but because the contributor, it's not only us, it's a very variant contributor from our network in the field. So actually they will update and give the update of the status of conflict, because we not directly assist all the conflict. Some of the conflict that we assist directly with the national network, we can follow the process, but other we just asking and communicate with the contributor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dewi. Thank you, Aziz. So we're approaching the end, and I would like to give Vladimir like a minute time for just some closing impressions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Oliver. This was a wonderful presentation. Thank you both, Dewi and Aziz. It shows how far one can reach when one does things systematically and one does things for a long time. I am very impressed with the participatory mapping process which you have established, and it is really something to be celebrated that the government has finally recognized your efforts as a proper map which can be integrated into the national one map portal. This, in my view, is a big step forward, and it is interesting how you are collaborating with the government in order to point out where are the conflict points. And also it is interesting that your technology helps to monitor the actions of the government. I think this is also a very impressive result that you have achieved. Apart from this, I would say that your experience should be much more widely distributed and shared with others. And I also want to say that obviously accuracy of GNSS is not a problem for the mapping. It is the agreement between the neighbors, in the agreement between the communities, which matter in this process. And on that, I would like to finish and thank you again for your wonderful presentation, and hand over to Oliver.
Thank you, Vladimir. Yes, for the questions we didn't answer, we will get back to you via email. And otherwise, if you have other questions, please reach out to our speakers. Their email addresses are displayed here. Also, I just posted our survey in the chat. Please fill it in. It won't take long, and it will give us great feedback what to improve. Otherwise, don't forget about the Geotech for Tenure training program. So you have until next week time to apply for it. Otherwise, have a lovely rest of the day, and thank you again to Aziz and Dewi for their presentation today. Goodbye and have a good day.
Thank you for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.